everybody, and welcome to episode 28 of the Detroit Lions franchise. This episode is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be similar to what we did last season, where we're just going to go off some of the important stuff. So this is finally going to be the episode where we go over some stats. We're going to look over, our free agents, and more importantly, we're going to look over the draft, our future prospects, the guys that we're looking into. I've been obviously recruiting them as the season goes on. I really haven't added them to any episodes. I've kind of kept it hidden because I really like giving them a spotlight throughout in a single video. I want to give them the time that they deserve since it's such an important part of the franchise. And we're going to start off with a couple upgrades. You saw Melo St. Clair just before, and now it's James Roseman, who we've been putting into the coverage, the pass coverage scheme of things. But he gets a +1 speed as well, which is awesome because he is pretty low in speed. And then there's Donovan Crawford, a depth guy, who we're still developing in the background. Of course, we drafted him in our first year. He just really hasn't been able to get a lot of playing time because we've had such great players at the defensive tackle position. So, of course, we're coming off a big win against San Francisco, and we're going to be playing the Bills next. That's going to be a very big game, and I already have the episode recorded for you, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. I don't want to spoil anything, but I already have it recorded. It's a good game. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I enjoyed playing it. But it's finally time to go over the stats, and here's Philip Shelby so far. Of course, we talked about it already throughout the season. Those 7 interceptions came in only two games, right? So he had one game with 3, and then the other game with 4. Other than that, he's been very good for us. He doesn't have any games where he's, just thrown 1 interception, which is a little bit unfortunate because it feels like we have a little bit of, I guess you can say, we have a little bit of a thing going on where if you throw 1 interception in a game, it comes in bundles, and it's not fun, but it is what it is. Of course, DeAndre Swift is having his best career, season of his career, and we're getting a lot of good plays from both Sammy Watkins and Rodney Foreman, who in the last 2 weeks has kind of had a little bit of a resurgence. Of course, he leads the team in touchdowns, but we really haven't seen those big plays that he showed that he was capable of last year. Other than that, we've been sharing the ball fantastically. It's a little unfortunate, TJ Hawkinson probably not getting as many balls as he did last season. His touchdown numbers are pretty low. The connection between him and Philip Shelby has been different, but that's to be considered once we change the playbook like we did. We're just trying to get all our superstars involved. And, TJ Hawkinson is definitely somebody we want to get involved, but at the end of the day, we have to throw it to whoever's open. And, that's been Sammy Watkins for the most part. Defensively, Terrence Kramer is having a phenomenal year at the rookie position. He's currently in the top 5 in tackles throughout the league, and we're going to go over the league stats later on as well. But he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's the type of player who's sideline to sideline. It feels like he's involved in every single play, whether it be in the backfield, in the passing game, or the run game. He's just everywhere, and that's what we really needed. So hopefully the development comes with it as well, because we need him to become a superstar for us. Sack-wise, it's all about Trey Flowers and Dee Ford. Josh Sweat, I think, has been perhaps our most consistent pass rusher, the guy who causes the most disruptions in the backfield. The sack numbers might not show it, but it feels like I'm saying, Josh Sweat has, forces an incomplete almost every other play. Other than that, Dee Ford has had a couple big sacks for us, and so has Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers had one big game where I think he had 3 sacks, so those definitely pad his sacks numbers. But the big issue I see on defense is the lack of interceptions. We're not creating a lot of turnovers, and we don't necessarily know what to do about that. I think we have a good DB group. As you can see, Nick Foles leading the league in passing yards. It kind of took us by surprise last season. I kind of laughed at it if you go back to the video. But looks like Nick Foles just can't be stopped. He does what he does. But other than that, you can see Josh Allen, Drew Lock, Cam Newton. But other than that, we've really, we've been trying to create more interceptions. We're trying to bring pressure to force bad throws, and it just hasn't come yet. I hope it'll come by the end of the season because it is such an important thing for a defensive team. As you can see, DeAndre Swift there, number 2 in rushing yards. And what I like most about DeAndre Swift is that he's around some of the top rushers when it comes to carries. You can see a couple guys right below him with 100 carries around, and I'm not talking about the guys around the 300 400 marker, but the guys who are at 500 600 as I'm going back up the list there. Look at Joe Mixon, for example, 101 carries. So things have been pretty realistic for DeAndre Swift so far. And you know what? That's what I'm aiming for. We had a big issue with Rodney Foreman last year where he had, a lot of catches, a lot of yards, but not a lot of catches compared to everybody else. And now that we're going to, a one guy type of thing where we're, led by one guy, we have a 3-down back in DeAndre Swift. It's good that we've been able to keep that realistic. And I think the sliders have a big part of that. Chad Arrington, who we're going to be seeing next year, is a rookie. Would you look at that? A rookie is leading the league in yards by far, and he reminds me a lot about Rodney Foreman with his intangibles. You have to work on his route running, but he's got great ability to go up and get the ball. He's got very good speed for his size, and he was 6'4", 220 pounds. I mean, that is a big dude at the receiver position. And there's also Derek Darby, right? So we talked about Devontae Adams leaving the Packers. It looks like Derek Darby, another rookie, is going to be the number one receiver for Aaron Rodgers and perhaps Jordan Love soon enough. But and I think that's cool because that's how your players are going to develop in Madden. Unfortunately, you can't really develop players too well unless they're, unless they're on the field, right? You can do all the training and all that, but it doesn't really amount to the same. And going back to Terrence Kramer on defense, number 3 in tackles, has a lot of assisted tackles compared to everybody else, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And he's been phenomenal for us. I am so excited about that pickup. I remember being a little bit bummed out about his overall when we first picked him in the first round, but he's proved me wrong. And I've said it, many times before that it's not going to be about the rating. It's going to be about the production on the field. And he has been the perfect example of that. As you can see, Myles Garrett and Darius Leonard, who unfortunately gets a lot of pass rushing snaps as how do they define it? The pass rushing guy in the depth chart, right? You can put linebackers there, and that's how they put him. That's where they put him. And it's a little unfortunate because that's not necessarily what he does at all times in real life. He is, a great coverage linebacker for the most part. But, he's succeeding at that point, so he's becoming a great linebacker, that's for sure. And finally starting to look at the kicking here, trying to figure out where our guy stands, right? Dustin Hopkins is 12 for 12 so far, has been very good for us. And I think a big part of that so far has been that we're not taking a lot of deep field goals as well. His longest field goal is 56 yards, I'm sure. But if you look at it, field goals under the 29, he's 6 for 6. That's already half his field goals. So we're putting him in a kicking position that he can handle. And we're just putting our offense in, the best position to put up some points. We're not forcing him to take, 50-yard field goals every single drive, like we did with Matt Prater last year. And even though Matt Prater did well, I think it just shows that our offense has improved and that we're moving the ball much more consistently and better. Unfortunately, we tried to fix things with Jamal Agnew. I take a lot less returns with him. I take the knee in the end zone. We were talking about it, just letting him go freely when it comes to the kickoff return. We're letting him take a lot. We're not doing that as much. We're taking a lot of knees, but we're still, in such a lopsided standing compared to everybody else. So it's a little unfortunate there, but we'll take it for what he is. He is only averaging 25 yards per return while guys are averaging 30. So I think it all balances it out at the end. Offensively, we are looking fine. I think our biggest issue right now is we're not putting up enough points. We're keeping our games awfully close, but with the, where we stand in the yardage scenario compared to every other team, it kind of just proves that we're putting ourselves in positions to score. So now it's just about finishing the drives. I think that'll help us a lot as we go. We're not passing very well compared to some other teams. We are doing decently, but we're not, at the top end of the spectrum when it comes to passing. It's been our running game that's looked phenomenal for us with a lot of home run hitters between DeAndre Swift and Crocker, who have pulled out deep runs, it feels, at least one of them once a game. And it's phenomenal to see. I think our O-line has improved. Bringing in Kalechi at right guard, continuing to develop Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow being healthy throughout the season, and of course rookie right tackle Marlon Mason has done pretty well for himself as well. Sack-wise, we're not doing too bad. We're in the top 4 right there. Interceptions, that's where the issue is. We are bottom 3, and really we're tied for second worst. So we need to start creating turnovers. Our defense is phenomenal, but we just got to get them off the field. We have to do better of getting our offense better field position, not letting them drive so much downfield. And of course, turnovers are such a big part of momentum, right? You want to get the momentum going for the offense, right? Your offense comes in on an interception or a fumble recovery, and there's a lot of juice that ends up going on the field. So going over the draft class finally, once again, it is not a great offensive line class. I am adamant about possibly upgrading the left tackle position, but it doesn't look like it'll be easy throughout the draft. But like usual, a solid defensive line class. There's a couple good linebackers who I could still be looking for, even though Mitch Klein and Terrence Kramer have been playing very well. But at this point, it's going to be the cornerback position. We need playmakers. I want to develop Amani. I want to develop Jeff Okudah. But when it comes to that Kevin King situation, he's been fine for us, but he's dropped a couple interceptions. And I just think that we should be focusing on bringing playmakers in on defense. That's going to be what really helps us. If we can bring in some playmakers who can force interceptions, create fumbles, I think we'll be in a much better standing defensively. And of course, I think the offense will benefit from it. So a lot of decent prospects, but there's also some bad prospects. So we're going to see a lot of computer draft picks that are going to be in the high 60s in the first round. That I am sure of. And I'm going to do my due diligence. I'm going to make sure everybody in the first round is scouted, even though the quarterbacks, even though there's 2 quarterbacks available in the first round, I don't think we'll be going in that direction. Of course, that all depends on how how we finish this season and how Philip Shelby plays. But we've made it clear. This team is his. I wanted to put a little focus on Troy Smith, the 22-year-old, 6'3", 268 pounds. He's got great tackling, great pursuit, and great hip power. The cool thing about him was that he is a speed rusher, and it's the same thing for Tony Williamson, great player, but when you're a speed rusher or a power rusher and it doesn't show up in the top 3, at some points it could be a negative, but I always see it as a positive as well, because, you can necessarily assume that even though it's not part of his top 3, it's probably still a pretty, well-developed skill. It might not be in the top 3, but I would say it's probably that 4th skill that's just short of making it there. So I kind of see it as a positive when you get a guy like that, because at the end of the day, it's all about, just having a mixed skill set. The more mix of a skill set you have coming in to a team, especially when you're, in a user team like ours, the more you can offer, the better. And when, you're a power rusher or finesse rusher, and it doesn't necessarily show up in the top 3 skills, it can be seen as a negative because perhaps that skill isn't elite right off the bat, but it's almost a guarantee that it's something you can work with. Going over a whole bunch of different prospects. Devontae Hayden is interesting. We're not going to know what happens to Sammy Watkins, of course. Whether he's going to finish the season healthy or not is going to be a big part of that. But there's also Shaq Durham, something that we haven't really been looking for in the draft. Is a smaller receiver at only 5'11", 198 pounds, but he brings a great skill set. And then there's also Dale Pope, who, looking at his skill set, I think that he can possibly even move out to one of the guard positions. We are going to have to find a replacement for Kalechi, and if he's the best offensive lineman on the board, then we're going to have no choice but to go for him, and that's just how it is. So we went over the draft class a little bit, and I want to finish off with our signings. And it's finally time that we start discussing contracts with some of our players. And as of right now, I have 2 in mind, 2 younger guys. And that's going to be Frank Ragnow and Amani. We're going to try and bring those back. Those 2 are for sure. But going over the whole entire list, there's, Jared Davis, who I don't think we'll be bringing back. We've given him opportunities. He's made some plays for us. He's made some good tackles, but with Mitch Klein looking so good at times, and of course Terrence Kramer, we just don't want to, to have too many players in the same position where we have to start worrying about play time. So we're going to go right into Frank Ragnow here and make our first offer. This is also a good look at our salary cap. And you look at Frank Ragnow, number 4 ranked center in the league at 87 overall. 12,000 XP is still quite a bit for an offensive lineman to upgrade, so it'll be interesting to see where he finishes off. But we're going to give him an offer right away. Looking at the 1-year breakdown, it's almost $12 million, 11.3, but to make this happen, I think we're going to have to boost it up a little bit like we just did before. And here we go, Frank Ragnow. That's a big signing for us to solidify a good building piece on this offense. And next was going to be Amani, who, has made plays for us in the past. 6'2", only 26 years old. He's still got potential to develop. And, even then, there's a good chance he ends up as our number 23. Our number 3 cornerback, the guy that we just keep in the slot, and we're okay with that. So our first offer goes out for him, and he says he likes the length, but not anything else. But that's going to be it for the episode. We're going to keep working on his contract. This is a short one. This was just to review everything that's going on. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and peace out, y'all. I'll see you soon.